Okay. Okay, so we're recording. This is the PeaceTrack team, and they will be demoing the work that they've completed this summer for Sisters Google Summer of Code 2015. First up is Vanilla. Vanilla, can you unmute yourself and share your screen?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'll be sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, hi everyone, I'm Vanilla and I've worked on the PeaceTrack iOS app this Google Summer of Code. And when I had submitted my proposal, the first initial goal was to build upon the iOS app that was built last year in SoC 2014. So what I submitted in my proposal was to build the offline functionality and setting up daily and weekly reminders and spreadsheet support, etc. But right in the first week of the program, I spoke to the last year student as well as with Nikki, and we realized that whatever was used in last year was highly deprecated. It wasn't even building properly, and even the last year students suggested we build it ground up uh, again. So the entire project changed into building the full iOS app. So that meant that I had to do the following things over the span of 12 weeks. That the first thing was to do the design functionalities, as in since PeaceTrack lacked a clear documentation of the requirements and the designs. So a lot of the work for me and Bhagya and Ajay was to figure out how things need to be shown and what each of the cohort or these things mean. So the first, once we figured that out, we went into the volunteer thing. That is, the volunteer basically entering their details to log in on the phone. And the volunteer had to enter a couple of details like his post and sector. And inside we had four major things, which are these: the cohorts, the impacts, the activities, and the measurements. Just to give an idea for whoever is viewing this later on, cohort is a group of the community identified by the volunteer on which they will perform further activities and measurements. Impact actually is still not clear, and I'm going to discuss what we did with impacts and what we couldn't later in the presentation. And the next is activities. Activities are basically the a list of actions that the volunteer decides that need to be conducted with this group of people. It could be something like conducting a spoken English class or something like that. And in the activity functionality, it also includes outputs. Outputs are basically, as far as we gathered, the understanding are the expected outputs of the activity being performed. And once that is done, then comes measurements. Measurements are basically, once the activity is performed, there's some metrics that you can actually measure, and these are measured in outcomes, and we can actually gauge and get an idea of how much impact have we been able to create through these activities. So that's basically what activities and measurements are. And through the span of the last 12 weeks, we tried to implement all these in the app. So this was what my timeline basically looked like. The first 2 weeks I spent in trying to understand what a cohort means and how things relate to each other. And even though I could understand that very easily, but the major other challenge was to actually understand how do we show these. And we kept doing that even all through all of the weeks. So I got a basic understanding of how the login should be done and set up the project in the first 2 weeks. And then I went on to implement the volunteer login. So me and Bhagya decided on the UI, and then we implemented it. And then came the first when we implemented it, we stored the posts and sectors locally, and then we did it by somewhere about a week or 5 days from the first midterm evaluation. But then later on, we also did the MACC integration. That is, the posts and the sectors were actually being fetched from the server, and the volunteer validation was sending a API request to the server. Then we went on to cohorts, and from here started the major confusion bit for us, as in me and Bhagya were constantly trying to decide on how what is the best flow in which we can do these. So we designed cohorts, and then we individually implemented um, the UX on our own apps. And then with the MACC integration, so Ajay, we kept communicating with Ajay as in what data we needed, and he would get back to us with the call request, and we would sit together on some common time and actually do the integration, because there would be some bugs, so both of us needed to be online at the same time to actually do it. And then we moved on to the activity. So the activity was actually extremely unclear for us, but as Nikki suggested, me and Bhagya made some assumptions that this would be okay to use this way, and then we decided on a particular flow and we implemented it, and we implemented the measurements also in the same way. So we have a full-fledged solution, as in including the server integrations, everything up until cohorts. For the activity, Ajay had actually given us the curl request, but unfortunately we weren't able to actually put them in the code. So eventually, out of the five major things that we had to implement in the iOS app, we weren't able to do impacts because we were extremely unclear what they were at all. According to my discussion with Ajay, he said there's something called as indicators and nothing called as impacts. So we just couldn't get an idea of what impacts were, and hence we couldn't do that at all. Um, so I'll just show you a demo of the app. Thank you. So I hope you people can see my screen. Rose, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So this is the basic entire UX flow design of the app. So I'm just going to compile it there. Mm. Yeah. So, like you've just noticed, since the volunteer is not logged in, it has automatically pushed me to the login page from the home screen, and it didn't allow me to stay on it. So, say, when I go back, it will just push me back to the login page. It won't allow me to access the home page without being logged in. So these are the details that Ajay gave us of a existing volunteer in the database. So we can just enter his details, and we can select which post he's working on. In Thailand is the post, and then which sector he's working on. So the sectors also come filtered, as in only those or those couple of sectors which are present in that post come. And once we do add account, it sends a request to the server and authenticates it. And we also have a logout button, just so that we have at least a little bit of session support. Let's take a look at my cohorts. Yeah, so it already lists all of the existing cohorts of the user, and we can also search them by, say, Xavier's there. So we can basically search anything we want, and it will do the string matching. And we can also click, just do it again. Yes, and we can also click on it to get an in detail view uh, of the cohort. Let's just go back and get a look. See, again, we can get a in detail view and also delete it. And there we can add a new cohort from here. This is the major functionality. Here, so these are all the fields that we need to enter for a cohort. We need to enter the name of the cohort. Let's start entering details. Say some primary school kids, and some description. And then we also need to enter members. Let's just say from 130, right? And then the age group that this kids belong to, 7 to say 15. And the number of males and number of females in these. And community position and some extra notes if the volunteer wants to add them. And once you click save, it just gets added very seamlessly into the list of codes, and you can click on them and get a detailed view as well. So let's go back to home and see the next. So let's see the activity functionality. Yeah, yeah. And here we have, see again, the same search functionality is present where you can search through them, and otherwise we can add a new activity. So for the same cohort we added, let's add a new activity, say a swimming lesson for them. And select, we need to select the so here you can see the cohort that we just added. So we pick that cohort and we pick the output. And then we need to select the date and time when this activity is going to happen, say tomorrow at 4 p.m. Yeah, 4 p.m. and an optional description if the volunteer wants to enter it, and then click save. There, you see it has just gotten added into it. We can click on it and see them in detail. Yeah. So let's see the measurement functionality again. And then Jessica, yes, I just recorded this thing today evening because the MACC server was switched off after that. So I can show you a live demo, but just that the server interactions won't come since we didn't have Julia deploy the yeah, the server on the MACC code on there. So we did, Ajay set up a VPN network for us, and that's how this is basically was interacting with the server that Ajay set up on his local machine, and I was interacting with it using a VPN network. But I just need to change the IPs, and it will be interacting with the main server once Julia deploys it.
Okay, thank you. That's good.
Okay. And here, so coming back to it, let's enter the measurements. Say the number of kids that came for swimming, and we can just enter some description, which is optional though, depends on the volunteer if they want to enter it. And we need to select the relevant cohort this belongs to, and then the outcome and the data, basically the number of kids basically who turned up for the swimming class, say some 80 kids, and let's click save. There, it gets added again, and it's all searchable, and you can click on them and view the in detail thing, and we can just go back. And we can just click on log out, and push us back to the login page. And even if we go to the home page, it's going to constantly push us back into the login page and not going to allow us to access it basically. So yeah, so that's what that is basically the demo of the iOS app till now. And so the major hurdles I faced during the process was we had to go through a lot of discussion sessions between me and Bhagya and me and Ajay, and also with Nikki during our weekly meetings, just because we were lacking any details on what the project required and how they needed it to be implemented. And also, I mean, Jessica helped me a lot with it. I faced a lot of issues implementing the UI picker view following the iOS design patterns. For the first midterm, I implemented it a little differently, and Jessica suggested I implemented according to the iOS design patterns, and I corrected the same. And yeah, especially for the activity flow, we just wished if we could have gotten a meeting with Peace Corps to actually understand what they needed, because I still have a feeling that this is just our guess and might not be right. And especially like the outcome and the output part, that wasn't clear. So that is the point that we actually wanted to clarify with them. So I'm just going to like put them all in a document so that even in the future, if you can get a meeting with Peace Corps so that you can clarify it for with them. And yeah, so with MACC integration also, Ajay was doing the web part first, so we had to have the timing was not matching between us because I needed the APIs, and I had to wait for a long time to get it. But either way, he gave it at the end. And in a lot of places, again the same, the outcome and output. First, we were struggling to understand the difference between them, and then we also tried to understand what the relation of an outcome is with the activity and an output is with the activity, etc. And indicator part was definitely not clear to any of us. So one suspicion I have is indicators are what actually they mean by impacts. So, but that's something we're going to have to clarify with the Peace Corps. So, yeah, that's what I have up to now.
Thank you, Vanilla. That was excellent. And I actually did. Did you have more? I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. That was it.
So, and I actually did try to get a meeting, and I think we have something in place for next week, but I'll talk about that at the end of the demo. So,
Okay.
so that way, because I think Bhagya is having some problems, so I want to make sure we get her in before. And Bhagya, don't worry, I'm having to edit a lot of our videos just because of connectivity and power issues. So if we have to, we'll reschedule, okay? So Bhagya, you want to go ahead and go, let's try you first?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm not sure whether this will get disconnected in the middle. If that happens, I hope that I would be able to reschedule another demo.
Absolutely, no worries. Absolutely, we'll adjust.
Okay, shall I start?
Yes, please. And you can go ahead and share your screen if you'd like.
Okay. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, hi everyone. This is Bhagya, and I completed the project PeaceTrack Android application in Google Summer of Code 2015, and my mentor was Neeraja Ramanan. And the project goal was to facilitate the Peace Corps volunteers by providing them with a digital diary-like application to manage the cohorts, activities, and measure their progress within the communities. So the accomplishments in this summer was the feature of login to the application dashboard, cohort management, activity management, measurement management, and integration with the mobile app control center. It is not completed, and the timeline is first I did the design documentation, and I discussed with the team to make modification and refine the design of the system. And then after that, first I started with the login feature. Then I communicated with the mobile app control center student to integrate that feature with MACC. And then I started working on cohort features, activity features, and measurement features. And then what I couldn't complete in my timeline was the integration of features with MACC completely, and also we could not proceed with my impacts feature because we were not sure about the requirements. They were not clarified by the Peace Corps, and we hope to get them clarified, as Vanilla also said. And I completed the documentation and the demo and screencast. Talking about the features implemented, um, uh, we did the login feature. The login flow is shown in this this was mentioned in the design documentation, and it is integrated with MACC so that it populates the posts and sectors from the mobile app control center. And in the cohort management, we completed creating a new cohort, editing a cohort, and deleting, listing, and displaying cohort details. The main flow is shown in this diagram. And then in activity management feature, the same set of operations as in cohort are available. And also in measurement management also, we implemented the same set of operations. Then talking about the backend design, the database, the mobile app application has the SQLite database, which keeps all the volunteer related cohorts, activities, and measurements. And at the mobile app control center end, we designed this database schema, and it has to be refined and modified. And then future work for this application would be integration of all the features implemented with the MACC, and implement my impacts feature with clarifications from the Peace Corps. And also in the current version, we have hard-coded the outputs and outcomes. So we hope to get download them from the MACC at the time of login. Based on the post and
Bhagya, you still there? We can't hear your audio. Is anyone else getting an audio? Okay. We still see your screen, Bhagya, but we don't get any audio. We'll wait just a few more seconds to see if you can get back on. Let me see if I can get her. Bhagya, we don't hear anything. Okay. So why don't we move on to Ajay, and then if Bhagya comes back, I will reschedule just her segment. Okay? Ajay? Alrighty. Ajay, you're gonna have to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi Bhagya. Hold on just a second, Ajay.
hello, can you hear me now?
Yes. You want to start from the from where you were left off?
I'm not sure where I left off. I just finished the demo on the presentation part.
Okay.
I'm not sure where you missed me.
I can't. So you were still, the last slide that you were on.
Okay, can you tell me which was the last slide you could see? Because I was going on and...
the future work. Manila said the future work.
All right, okay. Okay. Talking about my future work in this application would be integration all the features with mobile app control center and implement the MyImpacts feature based on the clarifications we want to get from the PeaceCorps. And in the current version of the application, we have hard-coded the outputs and outcomes in the local context of the mobile device, but we hope to get the download them at the time of login from the MACC, and especially we have to focus on graphical user interface enhancements. And I would like to continue contributing to PeaceTrack application to make it a user-friendly application and get it to the end users. And we have to clarify many things from PeaceCorps and refine the requirements before proceeding. So that's all in my presentation. And shall I move to the demo now?
Oh yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes,
can you
we
hear me?
can.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have prepared a video based on the demo. I can show you the video, or shall I post the link here?
Okay. Is it on YouTube? Is it a YouTube video?
Yeah.
Post the link here
It is
and
public.
post the link. Post the link and then I'll upload it. I'll bring it there and I'll play it on this end.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm not sure about my internet connection.
I understand.
Okay.
Hold on just 1 second and I'll get it up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can everyone see that?
Hi all, this is Bhavya. This is the demo for PeaceTrack Android application for PeaceCorps in Google Summer of Code 2015. Once the PeaceTrack application is installed in the device, the volunteer has to log into the application for the first time. For this login process, the device should be connected to a network. Now the device has been disconnected from the network, that is why we could not log in. And once I connect the device into a network, we can log into the application. Let's see, now we have to give our name and a valid email address. If the email address is not valid, then we are not given access. So now we can select a post and sector. These are populated from the mobile app control center, and we can select the relevant post and sector. Now this is the dashboard. After successfully logging for the first time, we do not need the device to be connected to any network to get to this dashboard. In my cohorts, we manage
Okay. Did everybody see that video? Okay. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Bhagyan. I understand your challenges, and I appreciate you sticking it out. We're gonna edit all of the videos on Saturday, so don't worry. And as soon as we finish all of the videos, we're going to post them because I'm sure everyone wants to see everyone else's work that they've done this summer. So, Ajay, you're up. Ajay, you probably have to unmute yourself. I don't hear you. Does anyone hear Ajay? Okay. You're still on mute, Ajay.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay, now we can.
Okay. I'm trying to share the screen actually.
Okay.
Just give me a second. Are you able to see the presentation?
Not. There we go. Yes. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just start. So let me begin from the slide one. Yeah. Is everybody able to see it?
Yes, we see it.
Okay. So hi guys. This is Ajay. So my project basically for this summer was. Actually, I'm getting some disturbance in the background. Yeah. This is fine. Yeah, so hi, this is Ajay. My project for the summer was PeaceTrack MACC. What I had to basically do in this project was that I had to manage a centralized portal for all the Peace Cause projects, basically. So earlier, this hub basically used to have two projects, that is malaria prevention and PeaceTrack. And so when I started working on it, the main aim was essentially first to separate these two projects because as we were about to develop this started development, me and Irish, we saw that there was a lot of interference between our code. So I used to edit the code and push it over to GitHub, and there were some edits from their side, etc., etc. And then when we initially discussed with Nikki, because as my mentor wasn't replying, so I had to discuss with Nikki, and then we finalized that let's separate out these two, because then it becomes easier for specific teams to manage these portals. So what we basically did was that we separated the info hub and the web hub and all the modules, etc., inside it, separating malaria from PeaceTrack, and so that it becomes very easier for us to maintain all those portals and web hubs, basically. And the other.
Ajay, just a second. Your screen keeps flashing in and out from your desktop to your. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah. So what basically the second part of my project was basically to be the central part of the Android and iOS apps development. So basically, it's these bug and Vanilla give me the requirements are that these are the integration they are working on, and how this MACC can provide them the data and the authorization and authentication part of it, so that this data can interact with these apps and can store and get and fetch all these things from the server. So that was the main two subparts of the whole project, and basically the how it started was, again, it started with refactoring the code to separate PeaceTrack from the initial set which was written last year. It was very It was written very on a basic level, basically not in a visualized pattern that tomorrow we'll have different apps coming into this platform that this hub will maintain. So we had to plan up that the decentralization of this hub is necessary, and for the current purposes and for the obviously for the future purposes. So the refracting part was the first phase. Then the summarizing of PeaceTrack summary and volunteer graph, basically. So this functionality is a sub part of the PeaceTrack functionality, wherein this management portal gives access for all the managers to have a quick summary of what all is going within PeaceTrack, how the volunteers are doing their day-to-day works, and also can see graphs, etc., of what they are working and the outputs. So in a very visual and all these forms. So, and the third part was the API management for all the mobile apps, all the authorization, authentication, etc., with all these mobile Android and iOS apps. So I had to write all the REST code for so that I could supply these APIs to Vanilla and Bhagya. So to go to the timeline, basically, the understanding of the project requirement was my first case because essentially in the start I wrote a proposal for some other project and I was assigned this project eventually, and then I had to spend time on understanding the whole project and the framework basically. So I was familiar with PHP, Kohana, and I had to work with Django and the REST APIs and all. So I had to understand the whole project and how it's working. So the 2 weeks I spent into that. After that 2 weeks into refactoring the code because it was getting very difficult for us to understand and maintain the web hub. So we had to, after Nikki permitted us, and we started refactoring the code. The refactoring a code is essentially a very difficult part. Why? Because the initial code was written to maintain that one server, and when we separate it, so there are so many APIs, the calls, the routings, etc., which in a way separates out, and you have to keep resolving all those bugs, etc., so that it eventually works separately. And then came the part then, because before the midterm I had to give all these things to Vanilla and Bhagya for the integration, etc. So they had done with their lock-in functionality, etc. So we had to authorize it with the MACC server to work it properly functionally. So I did that in just 1 week. And after that, when this is passed, because now we had to integrate the major things like the activities, the cohorts, and all these things, I had to fix the models specifically. So why I had to change the models? Because Vanilla and Bhagya represent, they said that these are the basic databases that we store in our mobile locally, and then we give it to the server, right? So the same configuration has to be there and here as well. It has to be consistent. So I had to change the whole the modeling structure, the many-to-one relations, the many-to-many relations, because all that which was written prior to this last year, it was very, very normal base and it wasn't working functionally properly. So I had to refactor all those codes and write all the relationships properly so that they work properly. Then came up all the summary page. In the summary page, I had to implement functionalities that I had to design something like that you give it a quick view of that page and you could get the gist of what people are working on. So it had to be, I had to specifically design the whole thing, how it needs to look, how I need to fetch all the results, how it could visually or easily and searchable in a way that it could show me what people are working on. Same goes for the volunteer page. The same effort had to be spent on designing the volunteer page and how to get the data functioning. The last was I had to work finally from the last say 1.5 weeks. I've been working for the MACC integration so that I give them the Bhagya and Vanilla all the data so that it can be integrated to and fro with the server. So let's proceed towards the demo, I guess. I'll have to share another screen. Just give me a second. Is everybody with me till now?
Yes, we're with you. Absolutely.
Sure. Okay. So I'll just share my other screen. Is everybody able to see the demo? It's a video. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So basically, this is the demo. This is the main page. Wherein last year this page was written. Basically, sorry, I think there's a problem. Yeah, is everyone able to see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, so basically what we did was that I created a sign up page uh, for in case that Peace Corps, plans to assign a new manager and they want to do that. So there has to be a platform. They don't have to write those scripts inside it so that that person, the new user, a new admin user is created. They can create an admin user can create another admin over the portal so they can sign up. So once that there's a logged in person, he can log in. So now you see that they're two separate. There is Malaria and PeaceTrack, which is totally separate. In future, if we add another apps, you can simply follow the same models, the same routes which we have configured right now to add further apps in the same dashboard kind of a mechanism. You'll see different apps coming up here. So once we go to PeaceTrack, we see these three features. So it's like the summary, the volunteer, and the graph, right, in specific. So firstly, I had to work with summary. Summary basically, again, as I told you earlier, that it in a way defines you what all things are going on in different posts sectors, what all things, activities, etc. are people working on. So I just saying that you can read it back and come. So the other thing, the volunteer section is if you want to see the progress of one specific person and how would you do that. So that's a volunteer section. So now this is the summary section. When you go to into summary, you see a table which is very fully functional. It has all the fields, the posts, the regions, sectors, the objectives of that goal which is currently going on, and the indicators, etc. is correspond to that. What the indicator type was, what the value or the output was, all those things are there. So this was the data that was given to me by Nikki when I asked for it, because the documentation wasn't clear enough to understand what kind of a product it is, what are the requirements. So when Nikki and then Bhagya passed on this data set to me, so I was able to understand that what kind of a platform it is, and what do people require in this page. So
Jay, this is, I don't know if anybody else is, but it shows very broken up, like there's two pages in one. Is it flashing for you on your side? Or maybe just show the browser, because it keeps flashing on our side.
okay, so I'll do one thing. I'll just give me a second. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the live demo only. I think there's a problem with the video, so I'll just share my browser screen.
Okay, that'd be good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you see the browser now?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay.
Up. Okay. We lost your screen. Okay, there we go. Are you sharing your desktop or just the browser?
Just the browser.
Okay, because it keeps flashing on. Maybe just share your desktop. See what happens there. It might be better.
I'm okay.
Okay. Looks like it's stable now. You can go ahead.
Yeah. So can you see the screen?
We can, but it's just flickering for some reason.
Basically, I updated my Windows 8 to Windows 10 yesterday. I don't know what the problem is.
That's okay.
Okay. So yeah. So with this table basically provides the functionality to yeah, so this table basically provides you the functionality to say, for example, if I'm clicking on post, so I can in a way sort the functionality. Do I want to see the recent ones, or do I want to see the ones beginning with alphabetically first order, etc. I also have the optionality to search for it. Say, for example, only the Rwanda ones I want to see. So it's like, I'm writing Rwanda in the search bar. Sorry, the search bar, I can see only the results which are from post related to Rwanda itself. To go more deeper into the functionality and provide more control over the management, I had to implement search for all the columns specifically. For example, if you want to run a search only on the posts, so just say Thailand. Okay, Thailand. So just only the Thailand results will be available now, because there's nothing else. Only the Thailand results. You can, so specifically you can go to each and every column and run search in case of, if you are looking for a proper goal or a project the manager wants to look into, or the indicators, what kind of values they are giving. So based on that, the person can search, and so it is very seamless. It is very, very responsive, the whole system. You also have the options to go to check next results. It gives you the options to have more results in one page, because when Nikki gave me the data set was huge. So basically, it's like you need to have pagination and all these facilities into it, because it makes it simpler to use, and it makes the whole management portal in a kind of a very gives it the whole simpler feel. The same way I have implemented for volunteers as well. So once you go into the volunteers section, yeah. So now here, once you come into the volunteer section, you want to track progress of a specific volunteer, right? So say, for example, Travis, or is it Neil, or all these people, right? So you can, again, the same way you can search, also the same pagination sector works. So once you see a volunteer, you see their name, you see the sector, you see the post, etc., and then see cohorts, right? What activity, what outputs, what measurements, and what outcomes these guys have worked on, right, and how they are progressing with it. So say, for example, we see this Ajay Sai. So I made my own entry basically. So Ajay Sai, you see that there are two cohorts that he worked on, and then there are two activities, well, specifically in each cohort. So each cohort has two measurements also, which Ajay might have added from the mobile app or the iOS or Android app, and again the outcomes. So in this way, the manager will be easily able to see and track the progress of specifically each and every volunteer. Then comes the part of the graph part. The graph part, why we as a group weren't able to do it, because the outcomes and the outputs, these are the two factors which are totally unclear in the documentation provided by Peace Corps. Neither me, Vanilla, or Bhagya, we were able to crack it, because how they plan to give a specific outcome and how we associated numbers with them to generate graphs is something which is not clear, and how we are supposed to take those outcomes and map it to our databases and plot graphs on it. So these things aren't clear into it. So Bhagya and Vanilla were telling that they tried to have a meeting with Peace Corps, but again it didn't work out. I also sent a mail to all the Peace Corps, and I also added it into the document where we were asked to enter questions, but I think that has to be discussed, and it is still not clear. So let me just switch over to the presentation. Sorry, I just am left with just to show the APIs to you. Yeah. So these are all the APIs that. So these. Hello.
We hear you, but we don't see anything.
Yeah, just a second. I have to share it again. Yeah, can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah. So then once that management portal thing was done, then I had to implement these APIs. So I used Django REST framework for that. So what we did was, so these are all the APIs that you can see. The API route rows, I am getting some disturbance. Yeah, this is fine. Thanks. So in the API things, I basically see all the APIs, the cohort API, the post API, all the users authentication, the volunteers, the project indicators, and all these API which I implemented. So what we basically can do is that all the functionality, all the APIs, etc., are properly working and are open. Only the admin, you can see that the admin is logged in into this portal, can access these APIs. Nobody else will be able to access it. Only the ones who have the managers and all these people will be able to access it. So once I go into the cohort API, you can see all the data which is already there in the JSON format, which is stored. All the endpoints you can see the /API/cohort, etc. So you can add parameters, etc., etc. Over. In case you want to make, if the manager wants to, so for example, there is a problem, right? The app is not working, the iOS or the Android app, and you still want that data to be there in the server, right? So I built this form that people can manually enter all these things into, so that it directly goes to the database. So you can, for example, add a cohort entry, students of, say, of Xavier's, description, let it be description, board members be 120, 130, 40, whatever, age from 22 to 33 to say 44, and males are say 1000, sorry, 100, and so females, position, say anything, high, nodes, etc., none for now. And you can simply add a post request here itself. So you can see that entry was there into the database. So you can also, there's a different kind of a functionality wherein you can also yourself manually add functionalities to it in case the other systems don't work in some time, maybe the internet issues and maybe all those things. So you can do that. So these are the functionalities, all the APIs, etc., available, all properly documented, and I have pushed the code to GitHub. It is out for review, and once it is deployed to the main server, Venla has integrated her part with the cohorts part in her app. So earlier I created a VPN network for her to initialize and test. So are the APIs working? So but now I have to shift this to the main server. So once my whole code implementation is checked, I'll push it to the production server, and all their apps etc. will start working. So let me shift over to the presentation. Yeah, so that was the demo. And about major issues, the major issues I had was lack of documentation, obviously. When I started coding on this, there wasn't any documentation available. There was a bit of documentation available, but that was a hodgepodge of documentation. All the models and all these things written, well, there's just one app to be built, and all those things, the functionalities weren't clear. There have been some modules that are incorporated in the code, but that is irrelevant totally. So I had to scrap all that, and I had to start. At times, I had to start from scratch, implementing all the APIs and all those things. But yes, lack of documentation was definitely a big issue. Next came the buggy model structure part, because when I started the API integration, those relations and all these things didn't work properly. So a cohort has to be related to an activity has to be related to measurements, etc., in a many-to-one functionality, etc. Because this is very app specific, so the model structure was very, very, very redundant. So I had to properly program that, add relations and all these things to the models. Again, that was a very hectic portion. The rest, then the came part of the API functionality. I had to, obviously, because to maintain the code similarity, etc., I had to use Django REST framework for that, so that it's easily integratable to the server code which I've already written. So basically, these were the major issues, major hurdles. I'd say that documentation and the meetings, etc., is an issue in a way, because it kind of affected all of us, all the three of us. And overall, it was very good. So where we stand in status and future, again, refracting code part done, yes. Summary, volunteers properly working, yes. The graph part isn't possible. Why isn't it possible? Just because that we don't know how outcomes and outputs and all these things work, because there wasn't any clarity available. So we couldn't go ahead and do a graph part as of this management portal and Android app and iOS app itself. The integration parts, login is done. That was done before midterm itself. Cohort activity, etc. Venla has done it. I have to yet to share it with Bhagya, because I was just testing it. Venla was helping me, test the framework. She set up the VPN network and all these things. He helped me figure it out. So it is done. It is working for Vanla's case. I'll just integrate with Bhagya. So it will just say 2 hours time. And then the measurement part, we don't have clarity again. The measurement part, measurement is fine. We can add a measurement, but how to track its output and outcome, again, no clarity on that. So that was basically everything. Future work, I'll say that graph functionality, yes, we need to understand. There isn't any documentation available for that. So yeah, I was also planning to have detail views to summaries. So once you click on a summary in that table which I showed you with search and accessible functionality, the person will be able to click on it and have a better overview of it. The API integration part with the that measurement section is still remaining. That's all basically. Yeah, that's from my side.
Thank you, Ajay. Your screen kept flashing, but I think we were so used to it, and it showed most of the part while you were speaking. So there were some interruption there, but it was fine. And don't worry about that either, because you said you went to Windows 10, so it may be a compatibility issue, but that was some great work. Yes, if you could just record it, that would be perfect, and then send it to me, and then I'll see if I can integrate it into this video, just that recorded piece. That would be good. So all of the work that you've done, that is amazing, all three of you. I know that there are challenges, especially with this particular project. The other Peace Corps projects had dedicated staff. With this one, it was unique, and you have to understand, while you all are trying to figure out, cohorts and measurements, and the crust of this project is that Peace Corps had all of these data, and how to actually understand what they had is what they're working on right now. So you are in the same boat that they are in. They have a new project lead, and she just started, I think, in March or April or sometime. I did get she did email me back during this video, and she says she's available next Thursday at 8 a.m. our time, which is 5:30 p.m. Indian time, Standard Time. So I will get with Nikki and let her know that. And we'll do just the demo, no presentations, but just a demo of the work. Now remember, I said that she just started, and they are actually trying to figure out how to understand the data that they have as well. And that's very common when you're trying to help and determine or help an organization or company with building their apps. They want something that is easily accessible, but at the same time, they sometimes don't understand the data that they have. So you're actually helping them. When you just move forward and you're giving them ideas and you're saying, hey, this is what we've done, that might shed some light on the things that they thought might be going down the project road, but it really doesn't. So, you will be helping them understand how they can best utilize the data that they have in a very clear and effective application. So no concerns on my part when you don't have access to that. It is very common. Particularly, I've been in consultant for a long time. It's very common to go into a situation and the customers don't understand what they have or what they want or need. So don't get discouraged about that. And I know that there was a lot of challenges, and I'm so glad that you were working on refactoring the code, all of you, from scratch. We worked off of RealTrack in the very beginning, so and then they realized that they really wanted to make something very productive and effective, so they tried to start over from last year. And then there were some issues about using Object-C versus Swift, so I think they started out with Object-C but then changed in midway and used Swift, so there was some confusion there. But I'm glad you all just pushed forward. This is real work, and this is often too many times is how it is. It's just how it is in the industry. So I'm glad you got to experience that, so you'll know what to do next time. a few administrative tasks. Jessica, did you have anything you wanted to say? And Jessica came in pretty late, and she was like our lifesaver because we really didn't have like an iOS person. We had students, past students who've done some iOS work before, but Jessica has an extremely great background in mobile development. So I am so glad that she's on board. I'm so glad that she agreed to come on because she really provided some great insight. So definitely thank you so much, Jessica. Yeah, she was a lifesaver for a lot of projects. She came on as the iOS person, and so that was very helpful for us, and we appreciate you, Jessica. We don't do this program without our mentors, so you definitely want to reach out to your mentors and just say thank you. There's a few administrative things that I need to tell you. The evaluations open tomorrow at 1900 UTC. Both student and mentors. So this is important because you have until next Friday to complete your evaluations. Now, I would suggest that you go in as soon as you can or earlier to make sure that you enter it. You will have until next Friday to make any changes if you want. So at least you get it in there. I will do my best to make sure that our mentors, all of the mentors, submit their evaluations. So if we don't see evaluations being submitted by Tuesday, we'll send out an email reminder. Google will send out their email reminder starting Wednesday. So they will have several opportunities to make sure that they get it in. But like I said, just remind your mentors, be proactive about it. This is how you are actually, you have to make sure that you get your evaluations in because then that kicks off the process of payment, right? That's important for you. Secondly, don't forget about your code samples. You will see when you log into Melange, there will be an opportunity or a button, I believe, where you can submit your code samples. It's just a little snippet of something that maybe you've created, maybe you have challenged with this summer and you're really proud about that. Showcase your work. And make sure that you submit that on time as well. I will, Ajay, you and I can talk offline about that and see. Don't worry, believe me, we are on the mentors about making sure that they get. We'll track them down, making sure that they get their their evaluations on time. No worries. And we have backups too, so don't worry. And I know that's important for you, so we'll get to it. Let's see, evaluation mentor. So there's a couple more things. So if you can make sure tomorrow is the firm pencils down. Firm pencils down. So all of your code must be pushed to the repo and submit your PR. We will look for all of the mentors just to give us a +1 or merge is ready. They all must be in by Friday, okay? And I would say Friday Pacific time, so you have some time. Friday, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, since that is the official for us. And then the couple of more things, if you have time at the end of next week to write some Google Code In, we are going to be participating in Google Code In. You are all welcome to become mentors. This is Google Code In is for 13 to 17-year-old youths and trying to get them introduced to technology and open source. So, and be mindful that we are going to have tasks that is related to documentation, testing, and then coding. So there might be some kids in there that might never have touched code before, so you want to write something very simple. Or you get the advanced high schoolers that have done coding a long time, so you want to have something in there. So hopefully, and I'll send out information on where you want to post these to everyone on the list. So the very last thing is Anita Borg Institute posts we present a Grace Hopper celebration for women in computing, and that conference is in October 14th to the 16th. On the 14th, we will have a open source day, and we will, I think this is one of the projects that we want to get some work done on. We may not have anybody there from Peace Corps from that project, but we do have, I believe, one of the main person that started this project will be at Grace Hopper. So we are asking if you want to participate. You can participate virtually. I do have a Slack team for Sisters Open Source, so I will invite all the students here and all the mentors in that Slack channel, and then virtually if you're available. This is not like a requirement. We're just wanting to open it up to you so that you can participate in that. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have right now. You can type them in and okay. So remember the three things: your evaluation, your code samples, and getting the firm pencil down is tomorrow. So those are the three most immediate things that you have. I will make sure that the mentors are on point with submitting your evaluations, and we will track them out. And your evaluations will be submitted, so no worries on our end. We do this a lot, so any questions that you have, reach out to me or Nikki or Anna Cotillas. We are your GSoC administrators. So thank you so much for the great work. I appreciate it, and I will follow up with updates on the videos as well as the other stuff that I talked about. Thank you, Vanilla. This is one program that I am so I love, just because you're taking away not just you're leveling up your coding skills, but presentation skills, professional collaboration, working with global teams. It's an amazing, and you take that with you, not just here at Google Summer of Code, but you take it with you on the job or whatever you're going to do. So thank you all so much. Okay, bye-bye.